It's time for the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan. Blake Sloan, one of the top real estate agents not only on the Grand Strand, but in the world. He's been featured in Forbes magazine, the Wall Street Journal, NBC, and many other publications. And now, the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan. It is time for the show. It's starting in actually starting right now, but we'll be talking to Blake Sloan in just a second. So before we get the chance to talk to Blake, let me give you a couple of contact numbers. In case you'd like to get in touch with him, and you probably will, his phone number at the office at Sloan Realty Group is 843-808-SOLD, 843-808-SOLD, or you could just give him a jingle on the internet by going to the website at blakesloan.com, blakesloan.com. We'll repeat all that contact information several times over the next 30 minutes. In the meantime, let's go ahead and get the show started. Here's Blake Sloan.
Good morning, everyone. Got an awesome brand new show. We're in here post floods, post hurricanes, and so thoughts and prayers, everyone, getting through that. The flood waters are finally starting to go down, even in my yard. And so they got close. It got to my back porch and stairs, and so very thankful for that. And actually, we have a special guest today, a very timely one, and my friend, local insurance expert Ben Harper. He's going to be on the show to kind of talk about a lot of the questions he's getting as an expert right now. We've had tons from our clients, people just talking about different types of insurance, what they need, what examples are out there, because it gets pretty complex, and obviously you want to make sure you have someone that can help guide you with those questions as well. And so we have some questions for him, and I just want to provide as much value as we can to our listeners in regards to some of the concerns that we've heard and we know out there as well. Also, we got the preliminary market numbers in from last month, and they're going to be ugly. they're ugly. They're ugly. So we're going to talk about those numbers, what they are, and we're obviously seeing a rebound already. Like, our team has got people in town right now. I mean, literally, we talked about before, buyers that were trying to come here could not even get here to buy properties, and so obviously those numbers are going to show that. But we're hoping for a pretty big bounce back the next month. We'll dig into that today as well and kind of talk about what we're experiencing. Some kind of hyper focus on traffic coming to town in regards to buyers. We'll talk about that. And also got a couple cool success stories that I'm super proud of that we've been able to put together. It's been crazy since people could access. I mean, post-storm, like I was telling you, we put 2 or 3 listings under contract during evacuation. Also after the storm, the ones we can get access to, we still been selling. So great stuff with that. And also, if we have time at the end, 5 reasons why listing your home this fall makes sense. And we'll tie that into, obviously, some inventory challenges we're having here post-storm as well.
All right, sounds good. If you're just tuning into the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan for the very first time, you're saying, who is this guy? Well, Blake Sloan has been called the Real Estate Whiz Kid. He's been featured in Forbes magazine, Wall Street Journal, Realtor magazine, other national publications as well. On TV, you've seen him on NBC and with Fox and Friends on Fox News Channel, of course. You've heard the endorsements here on this very radio station from Glenn Beck, Sean Hannity, also Barbara Corcoran, Gary LaVox, and more. Put that together, it's definitely unprecedented as far as the real estate market is concerned. Now, something else that Blake does that nobody else can do is give you some of his trademark systems. If you come on board with Blake, he'll be able to give you some of the intricate secrets of how he helps home buyers and home sellers with his trademark systems. But even if you don't come on board, he can tell you the one biggest part of the whole home buying and home selling progress, and that's the biggest part of yours.
Yeah, and I think this has almost become my mission, in the industry in regards to what we do and kind of what our calling is. And ultimately my calling, as we've been in the business for a while and built a team and done some things, and it comes down to one thing, right? The single most important variable that determines your failure or success as a home seller comes down to one thing only, and that's the agent you choose. And really, more, I guess, in detail is how they actually execute, because the problem is most of the time you have an agent that gets a listing, they put it to MLS, and this price one brings a buyer. But in reality, there's 118 different variables from A to Z. So if each one's handled correctly, right, guess what? That puts money in your pocket. Property actually gets sold. Anything's handled incorrectly, aka they dropped the ball, something's missed. For example, if a buyer calls in and doesn't get answered, which happens a lot, right? If I'm a single agent, I'm running around, let's say I'm doing this show right now, someone calls a for sale sign of mine, I can't answer the phone. Obviously, we don't have that kind of a team, but the reality is if one of the agents out there showing properties to a different buyer, they can answer the call-ins on your property. So you have all these examples like that that are variables. And so what we did is we identify the variables. Most agents don't know what they are. We create a system that's proven repeatable, that stacks the dominoes. And so we create maximum leverage every single point, and we stack those up to create massive value and to create basically a huge advantage for our client in the process. And so We call that the guaranteed sold system. The only proven system sells twice as fast and for up to 20% more money than traditional methods. And for buyers out there, guess what? 100 plus variables, different variables that most people don't really have a handle on. And so what we did is we identified them and create a system, again, proven and repeatable, so it's scalable. And the whole thing here on both sides is how do you get predictable, proven results every single time? And so that's what we did there for buyers, called the Unfair Advantage Home Buying System. Get you priority access to foreclosure, distress sales, desperate sellers, and the absolute best negotiation both in the purchase process, aka price, and also in home inspection. And so the reality is, when you're dealing with, for most people, their largest asset, you want to have someone who can help give you a competitive advantage. What we did is systematically create something that allows you to make sure you have that, versus just trying to throw it out there and hope that you get lucky. And so that's single-handedly the most important thing, decision-wise, that anyone makes, is the agent that you choose to get those results.
All right, and also coming up in the next few minutes, we'll give you more reasons why you need to choose Blake Sloan for your real estate needs. Coming up in just a second, we will give you a real estate update. Sure, as Blake kind of said, didn't look great last month. I wonder why, but we'll talk about that. Also, the interest rates, where they're going right now.
Quick break, and then we'll do these
the inch and down.
Bars, and we'll have plenty of time.
We'll find out more about that coming up in just a second. Call Blake at his office at Sloan Realty Group at 843-808-SOLD, 843-808-SOLD, or go online to blakesloan.com, blakesloan.com.
Hey, it's your friend Sean Hannity. Now, if you own property in Myrtle Beach, the national marketing plan of the realtor that you choose is absolutely critical. Now, that's exactly why you need to talk to Blake Sloan at Sloan Realty Group. Now, Blake has a marketing system on a whole different level than anyone else in Myrtle Beach. That's so effective at capturing local buyers from around the world that he can guarantee to sell your home at a price and a deadline that you agree to, or Blake's going to buy it. While most agents rely on yard signs and open houses that attract the occasional buyer, Blake attracts hundreds of buyers each month, which creates demand and helps your property sell fast and for top dollar. Now, that's why, on average, Blake sells a property every single day of the year and is ranked among the top 100 agents in the entire U.S. by the Wall Street Journal. Now, working with Blake is risk-free. If you're not happy, Blake gives you the freedom to cancel your contract and pay nothing. So give Blake a call today at 808-SOLD. That's 808-SOLD. Or just go online and see Blake's interview on NBC at blakesguarantee.com.
Hi, I'm Barbara Corcoran. To sell your home on time for the most money, you need a sharp agent with a marketing strategy that creates the most demand. Bottom line, you need a partner willing to put their own money on the line for you. In Myrtle Beach, I would hire Blake Sloan. His international marketing creates so much demand that if your home doesn't sell at a price and deadline you agree to, Blake will buy it. Partner with the agent I trust. Go online or call and get your home sold.
The Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan. Call Blake at his office at 843-808-SOLD, 843-808-SOLD. Probably a lot of questions rolling out there as far as the real estate market is concerned right now, so he's the man to answer them. So give him a call and find out more. Coming up in just a minute, we'll find out what the interest rates are looking like right now, but let's go ahead and start off. How ugly did the real estate market get for the month of September?
They are ugly. So the reality is they're not real, right? They're real, sure, but they're
skewed.
Yes, skewed. That's the perfect word for that. And so, and I was talking a bit about this a minute ago, which we'll kind of maybe chat about. Is there's a million different factors here, like even all the way down to some people couldn't close on the property they were supposed to close on because they couldn't get insurance, right? And certain things, all the way down to our courthouse being closed and our courthouse almost being surrounded by water, right? And so the reality is that the bottom line numbers are down. So I hit them real quick, and we're already seeing a huge kind of surge of buyers right now in town. Our team is literally going from like 8 in the morning till past dark showing properties of buyers in town, because we literally, like I mentioned, have buyers who were trying to come in town and couldn't get here.
Right.
Now, have we had some people back off? Absolutely. This is like my biggest kind of fear. I've been keeping pulse with our team daily. Like, what are you hearing? What's going on? And maybe 1 out of 10 buyers are like, hey, we're kind of going to hold off right now, a little scared. But ultimately, people are still coming because it's still Myrtle Beach. It's been Myrtle Beach for a very long time. And so that's the reality there. And like I've kind of said before, I know there tends to be a very short memory, I guess, so to speak, in that role. But the whole response has been very, very, very positive, really, with buyers in town. And like I mentioned last week, we've already had people making offers on our properties that did not get wet, who had properties that were destroyed in that storm. And so, really quick, these are closings, meaning that they actually closed in the courthouse and got closed out in the MLS. And so last month, single family homes, which is pretty much all residential properties that aren't new construction, which is where I like to use as the most important number to keep a pulse. Down 36.8% last month.
Yeah.
So see, you look at the line graph, it just like drops off a cliff. So the reality, looking at looking back at September of last year, 2017, there were 427 homes that closed. Right, this year at 270, and so you can kind of see the difference there of that climbing off. New construction, very very similar. I think it's like 51.5% decrease. So it's like, man, 299 in the same month last year down to 145. Now we'll see a lot of these get pushed, so you're going to see the skew, right? So you're going to see for October, once those final numbers are in, a huge jump up on the scale there. But you will ultimately, if you average out, there's still going to be less sales. I mean, because there's going to be some people that did not buy, some that literally can't buy, that were underwater. We had a couple of those too. And so the reality is that, we're looking pretty positive, even though numbers look very skewed right now. And so into condos right now, if you look at resale condos, overall 37.6% drop in condos. There were 285 that closed versus 457 in 2017. And so that's just something to kind of watch and see overall. If you look at sales price, which is a crazy thing here, which is good news. Last month sales price up 16.1%, and so 238,000 for the median, which is awesome. That's the highest I've seen it on here in years. All the way it tracks all the way back 2015. This report, 223 last year is the highest. Then we hit 233 in June of this year, and then right now we're at 238. So the trend is up. That's great news for anyone out there that's looking to get maximum dollars for their home. Right now, statistically, last month was the highest median that we've seen from month to month, which is great news overall. New construction up 10% last month in prices. You can see the jump on the graphs in both these. 276,660 for the median price. Again, also the highest we've seen on here for median price for the entire MLS on this since back in January 2015. And so great news overall, at least from the pricing standpoint. And so that's something we'll obviously continue to watch. You're going to see this, and if you guys remember last month's show, we talked about numbers. I really mentioned the huge shortage of inventory and how sales jumped up. That I told you that next lagging indicator was going to be price, and obviously that's what happened there as well. Because for the most part, most of those numbers were already locked in. So these closings you're seeing here, most of them were already under contract their previous month, and they were just scheduled to close, 30 days later. And so condos and townhomes, 9% increase in price last month. Again, guess what? The highest here since January 2015 at 139,000, which is great news overall. The one thing that we talked about that's kind of driving a lot of this is inventory. And so like right now for single family homes, resale homes, inventory is down 13.6% at 5.1 months of inventory. Very, very, very low. We've had two low points this year, both in January. So the lowest it's been this entire year was January 2018. The second lowest has been, guess what? September 2018. And so you kind of saw inventory go up in the summertime. A lot of that stuff has come back down, either getting sold or pulled off the market. We're going to see a very, very big inventory shortage, I think, the next month or so, because you thought was it 21,000 people displaced total. Some of those are still, salvageable. We have a lot of listings that had 4 or 5 feet of water in them, things like that, that are taken off the market now. So buyers out there, both the ones slated and scheduled to come into town that are still coming, as well as people who are looking to get out what they're in and buy something else. And so what that means to anyone listening, here's the deal. If your house, is a place to be sold, you've been thinking about selling, now is the time to take advantage of this. We always know that this is supply and demand driven. So we have the highest prices we've seen here median wise since 2015. Inventory is very, very low again. And you're coming into the opportunity where buyers need properties. And so we need properties. So if you know anyone out there thinking about selling, if you've been thinking and listening and have not called me yet, reach out to me right now. 843-828 sold. We need inventory big time, which you can obviously tell here from the numbers. I mean, this is kind of one of the biggest skews I've seen, obviously, from inventory being very, very low, prices being up, and that pressure in the middle is that we need more listings, right? And the last part here in the condos, guess what? Down 7.4% last month, and the actual lowest we've seen this entire, let's say, almost 12 months was December 2017 at 4.9 months of inventory. Right now we're at 5.0 months. We're right there at the same place that we have, and at the lowest point we've seen so far this year. And so that's something to think about, because ideally the fall is a great time to sell if you're thinking about it, but now you kind of have an extra nudge, and it's very unfortunate out there for people who are displaced. But the reality is they need somewhere else to buy too. And so it's a great opportunity to help both sides of the equation, so to speak, because again, I mentioned one of the first ones we got under contract after the hurricane was someone whose house was, basically ruined. They're buying something else. We've had multiple since then. And so the reality is there's a shortage of inventory. We need your house. If you're thinking about selling, reach out and call me. I'm not trying to be a dead horse, but obviously this is something that we can see from a statistical standpoint. Price is very, very high, right? Inventory very, very low, and a need for your home. And so anyone you talk to at work, at the coffee shop, whatever it is, tackle them. Tell them, look, you got to call Blake Sloan at Sloan Group 843-808-SOLD. Now, real quick, if you want to hit interest rates,
Sure, go.
that's kind of a wild card right now into this. So right now, rates are at, again, the 7-year high. So if you remember last week's show, it was 4.80. And 2 weeks ago, 4.87. Right now, it's 4.94. So that's a pretty ugly jump there, too. Right along what we talked about what happened between fourth quarter this year and Q1 of next year. But 15-year fixed rate right now, 4.40%. A 30-year FHA loan, 4.50%. A 30-year jumbo loan is at 4.41%, and a 5-year adjust rate right now, 4.20. And so ideally, we've been saying this for months in regards to how those rates are going to track up. And I think long term, we will see an effect on our market here. You're seeing slowdowns in other areas across the country. And like I mentioned, we're usually about 6 months behind them. And we're about 2 to 3 months in that trail. And so there is a huge opportunity if you take all these factors in regards to inventory, obviously a lot of displacement in the storm. It is a huge opportunity to wait until things do potentially slow down. A lot of the big metropolitan areas are calling for back to buyer's market switches. And so I'm not sure how long until we see that. But, once rates get above 5%, that's going to make a significant difference there. And the same thing for you. If you're thinking about buying something else, you're going to, you're getting financing. The rates go up, the money costs more. It's going to obviously hurt your buying power a little bit. So great opportunity right now. Anyone thinking of selling, anyone you run across, that's the biggest reason I do this show too, is like when somebody refers their friend or relative, it makes a big, big deal. To me, it makes it worth it, right? All the pain, all the stuff to go through in this business makes it well worth it. So reach out, call me, 843-808-SOLD.
All right, sounds good. Coming up in just a second, more great stuff, including your hot buyers alert, and we'll get some great success stories. We've got a guest in the studio and a whole lot more. It's all coming away in just a second.
Yeah,
Get in touch with Blake Sloan at the office at Sloan Realty Group. The phone number is 843-808-SOLD. 843-808-SOLD, or go online to BlakeSloan.com.
You want your home sold on time and for the most money without all sorts of excuses? Hi, it's Glenn Beck. And when I had to sell my home, I went through several agents who all had good ideas, but the bottom line is they couldn't get the job
What's
done.
the question?
Well, you have a celebrity.
We'll have about 6 to 8, you think? Or?
About 10 minutes.
Okay. So we'll do the success story and the hot buyers, and we'll go straight into this. We don't need the rate. We'll just go straight to it. So the questions you're seeing right now.
That's why you can guarantee
what's
that your home price and a deadline.
I've got 3 types of flood zones. No one is safe. X flood zones 50% or more. Flood.
You walk away free.
I'm gonna touch on flat deductibles for hurricanes. So like you got a 2% of 600,000 or whatever, $12,000 deductible. So we do have companies that'll offer $1,000 flat deductible.
That's Blake'sGuarantee.com.
Like I mentioned, if you've had minor damage in Matthew and in Florence, but it didn't meet your deductible, we do have policies that will lower that deductible. And then
welcome back to the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan, as you just heard there from Glenn Beck. Get in touch with Blake at his office, Sloan Realty Group. The phone number is 843-808-SOLD, or go online to BlakeSloan.com. BlakeSloan.com. If you haven't heard and gotten the word yet, Blake is working with a whole bunch of people, and they're looking for a whole bunch of homes. Hopefully, it's yours. If you're in the Myrtle Beach area and you've got a home anywhere in the $150,000 to $3.5 million range, even thinking about selling, call Blake immediately. He needs the inventory right now. That same phone number, 843-808-SOLD. How many people are looking for homes? We've broken the 50,000 plateau as far as people who are actively looking for homes in the Myrtle Beach area just on Blake's website alone. 50,063. We're finally over that peak there, Blake, as far as people. And these are people who are looking on a regular basis, not just once a week, once a month, but maybe once an hour for homes right here.
Stalking like over and over, like right now on the site, Gloria Lodge, Laurinburg, North Carolina, Mary Lynn Kerr, Dunn, North Carolina, Bob James from Albany, New York, Sharon Adams from Longs here in South Carolina, and all over, right? We get all over the country, a lot of them. And like Dave mentioned, these are like unique people. The 50,000, those are username, password, like name, like verified. And even, like a lot of times there's a phone number they have to verify to log in. So long story short, it's a very these are real people and they're looking right now for properties when we have a shortage. And so the reality is like these are real people who are looking from all over. We have a whole different model, and that's one thing I kind of joked about last week. But the reality is like whenever the whole thing happened with the hurricane and flood, we have a couple of people that run our ads for us. And I spend a massive amount of money driving traffic online, $10,000 a month driving traffic. And they're like, hey, you want to pause these ads? And I'm like, nope, let's just keep rolling, because I know that there would be a bounce back and that we still want to stack that. Obviously, were our numbers down too? Absolutely, right? But the reality is the spin was still there and we're still stacking those up. And so while a lot of people took their foot off the pedal and are trying to get their momentum back, we're already in there. And literally, like I mentioned, our team is running around all day, every day, showing properties to multiple buyers who are in town now and are still looking to move down. And so, if you had a dream to move to Myrtle Beach for the last 8 to 10 years, and you're about to make that move and a hurricane comes through and it's not that much damage, there's some, very bad flooding, but in isolated parts, they're still making their move. And that's the one thing that we're still a part of there. And so bottom line is, if you're thinking about selling, reach out, call me. Anyone you run into, like, these numbers are still real. And what makes us different is our business model. The business model I have allows me, I can literally outspend the average agent 100 to 1 from a marketing standpoint, because we have a team of specialists, right? We're 15, I think we're up to like 17 buyers experts on our team right now, who are all day, every day following these buyer leads from across the country. They match them up with our seller clients that we have, because that's what they're hired to do. And so we even built technology that will match up buyer and seller based on their previous search patterns of what they've been doing, almost like a Facebook ad or something. So in that regard, if you think about selling, reach out, call me, 843-808 sold as well, because we've seen a huge breakthrough with that too. And I know we're kind of short on time. So really quick, I want to go right into 2 quick success stories, and I have been in really quick. But first one, and this is really cool. This is during the time that all this flooding and things going on. Big shout out to Mike. Mike needed his second home here sold Myrtle Beach, because he didn't get around to really use it anymore. After interviewing multiple agents before getting to us, someone referred him to us. He called us, saw our marketing system, was absolutely blown away. We launched our global marketing blitz, professional photos, drove massive traffic, had under contract 98.5% of asking price in just a couple weeks. So super proud there. Really quick too, Janice, she had her Myrtle Beach home listed with another agent for over 6 months. She only had a few showings, no offers, no communication, and just pure frustration. Here's what I thought was interesting. She said she felt out of the loop the entire time, or that they did not do anything at all. I think she said that she suspected maybe part-time, but the crazy thing is this is their largest asset. And so coolest part here, the whole story, she's referred to us by an amazing radio listener. We identified the problem, launched our global marketing blitz, massive traffic, had under contract in less than 2 weeks. So she's super excited about that. And really quick, get into our special guest here, who has been Harper. And Dave, how much time we got?
Probably got about 5 minutes.
All right, super important. He's my friend, my insurance person. And I even called you during this and said, hey, dude, I still got my flood insurance, right? Because and first of all, say hello to everyone.
How's everybody doing?
And so the cool part is he helped me when I bought my house. I get regular insurance, and I've told this story before. The mortgage guy was like, hey man, what's going on here? This rate's super cheap, and they just get amazing deals. They're independent, but he told me, he's like, here's the deal, man. You need to go ahead and get flood insurance. I'm on the waterway, but I wasn't necessarily in a high risk flood zone, right?
Correct.
And so he's like, dude, it's 400 something bucks, but you just need to do it. And I was like, all right, I trust him. I trust anybody on our team there. And I did it, and thank God I did, because the water got super close this time. Obviously, it did not, but it was well worth that. So I want to bring you on to help our listeners out there. That's one of the biggest questions we've got. And so, like right now, what are some of the biggest questions and concerns that you're seeing from your clients out there, in regards to the insurance world right now?
Biggest questions right now are, can we write business? We are back open. Flood insurance typically has a 30-day wait, no matter what. There is some private flood that waives the wait period, but they are not open yet because there's some still flooded in the area. The biggest thing you mentioned, the water didn't get to your house, but you had the peace of mind that if it did, you had flood insurance. And we've told the biggest question we get on flood is, do I need flood insurance? And I used to feel bad telling people yes, if it was not in a flood zone, because the likelihood they need it is very rare. But as an agent, I can't say you don't need it, because over 50% of the homes that flooded in this storm were not in a flood zone. So from a liability standpoint, we have to tell you need flood insurance if you ask it. But more than that, you're buying peace of mind. For $450 a year, most cases, go ahead, evacuate your family, get out of town, and know that you're protected for a small amount of money per year.
It's crazy because I watched it come, inch by inch, foot by foot, literally in my backyard day and day. And I'm like, man, and there was that peace of mind on the back end, which I'm super thankful for. And like I said, I even called him, hey, dude, I'm so good, right? And you're like, yeah, but it's one of those things that it matters. And I remember sometimes I have a tendency to be cheap, and you're like, dude, just do it. And I did it. Thankfully, I did. In that regard, what's the number one mistake that you think that you see out there that people make in the entire insurance world when it comes to their home?
I would say just people say you're not in a flood zone, and that there's no such thing as not in a flood zone. You may be in an X flood zone, which is not a high risk area, but as I said, a lot of these neighborhoods suffering right now were not in flood zones either. So just agents and other people telling people that they're not in a flood zone, there is no such thing as not in a flood zone. You're just not maybe required to have it because of your mortgage company, but anyone can obtain flood insurance even if you're in the X flood zone.
And what do you think the biggest, not mistake, biggest misnomer, biggest misunderstanding that a lot of people have about how insurance works and things like that?
Just the coverage amounts. Maybe some people think flood is not going to cover them in certain cases, and flood is flood. I mean, if more than 2 acres or you and your neighbor are flooded, flood coverage will kick in. Most policies have $1,250 deductible, and that's based off the NFIP or National Flood Insurance Program. And then there is some help there through FEMA if you did not have flood insurance. But it's better to just take it and know that you're covered that way. And
not worry, right? And that stress of worrying and going through it, much less having to rebuild, and some have rebuilt, over and over and over. And so we tend to just tell our clients and our team, hey, look, we'll hook you up. I don't do insurance. I'm gonna hook you up the best, options for insurance, and here you go, because there's a million questions that I don't even know. And so if someone has a question, about insurance, about their house or what their options are, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
They can call our office at 843-903-0202. Just let them know you heard about us on the radio today with Blake, and ask for Ben if you want to as well.
Cool, man. Well, last big tip. What's the one thing that anybody post-hurricane, what would you advise them to at least read or check in? Because you have my big FEMA paperwork and all this stuff, but what was the last thing you give them tip-wise?
I would just look at your homeowner's policy and your flood policy. We've had a lot of claims that didn't quite meet deductible the last few years from Matthew and from Florence. And there are other options out there that can get your hurricane deductible all the way down to $1,000. So some carriers don't go lower than 2%, 2% of your home value, and that can get fairly expensive. So there are options out there with much cheaper deductibles.
Cool. Any questions, reach out to us, the show, reach out to Ben. We're always here for anything real estate related. 843-808-SOLD.
All right, sounds good. A lot of great information there, as always, about insurance and real estate. Very timely, obviously, with what's going on. If you have any questions about anything that you just